Welcome back. About to start another watercolor. Here are some of my watercolor paints. Just a disposable easel there on the left. Not an easel, it's a disposable palette. These are my some of my watercolor paints, Winsor & Newton, as you can see there. These are really lovely paints. You can see there, and I've put some these are Byron travel watercolor paints, but I put some Winsor & Newton in there as well on that bottom row because I felt that there weren't quite enough colors, so I put some out of the Winsor & Newton into the Byron box as well. And the colors mix up quite well. These are some of my other watercolors, Art Spectrum, really lovely colors there. The Payne's Grey, and the Australian Dark Bush Green, and there's also a turquoise that you saw there as well. So that's our drawing there. Just a hut. It's a very loose watercolor we're going to do. A hut, you can see a figure there, and some trees and bush in the distance as well. Fairly large tree on the left-hand side. So we're going to put a fair amount of water on here. And by the way, if you do supply watercolors or manufacturer or whatever, you can send some to me to try and review, and I will do that on this channel for you. So just painting this water, clear water, around in areas here. And I'm going to get a mixture of olive green and a little bit of ultramarine blue I'll put on there as well, mixed with a tiny bit of Payne's Grey. So that'll be our mixture: ultramarine blue, some olive green, and a little bit of Payne's Grey into a fairly watery mix. And there it goes now. That's wet on wet. Just to get a background, a diffused background. That's all we want. No particular sky there at all. Just some sort of a background in there. And we'll put a little bit more of that colour on there. Ultramarine blue, some olive green, bit of Payne's Grey. That'll do for that. I'm happy with that. So before that dries, we're going to get the Australian dark leaf green, and we're going to create some background trees, and I want these not to be well defined. I just want them to be diffused, these background trees. That'll be behind that that structure there, that shelter. Some beside, some behind there, sort of behind and beside. And you can see how it's just diffusing very nicely. So as I said, a very loose watercolor, and that initial color, that diffused color we put on with the Payne's Grey, the olive green, and the ultramarine blue, that's not even dry yet, and we're going right over the top of that with this Australian dark leaf green. So we'll just let that do its thing now. And we'll add a little bit more color in here. This is just some Prussian blue, a little bit of Prussian blue in here, and we'll put some more Australian dark leaf green and mix it in a little bit there, just to bring it round, just to give it a little bit of color variation in there. Really darkening some areas in here. That will fade back, by the way, as all watercolors do. They do fade lighter compared to when you first put it on. More Prussian blue in there, in that area there. Most likely go over some of that with some more Australian dark leaf green anyway. This is some sort of a bush shack in a very foresty type of area. Well, that's the plan anyway. Just adding some more darkness in there before it all dries, because I still want this paint to blend in and diffuse nicely into what we've already put on. So that's looking okay. We want some just some very light green on the left-hand side with some Australian dark leaf green as well. So we just want just a hint of green in through there. So we'll just get some colour on the brush and just bring it through into that area on the left-hand side. You can probably leave it like that, and then just paint a figure, which you can see the figure standing near the house or just in front of that shack. You could almost leave it like that, but I want to put in a big tree with some nice green on there, some sap, SAP, sap green, and I want to put a few branches and trees in different areas through here as well. When I said you could almost leave it like that, I meant that you would have had to have completed the bush hut as well. But you could have just left it like that and adding no more trees if you wanted to, but I want to put a big tree on the left hand side. And a few twigs and sticks going through here as well. So those trees that you see there and branches coming out, that's just a mixture of black and also burnt umber. So burnt umber and some black. Just using the corner of a pencil sharpener because it's nice and sharp, just to get a few little scratch marks through there, a few little branches, things like that. Don't go overboard with that though. Bit of cadmium yellow in here. Some yellow ochre. Some sap green. Bring that through. That yellow ochre isn't dry yet, but I just want to blend it through. The colours run into each other. A little bit of burnt umber as well. We'll put in there just down below, and maybe a little bit near the hut. There we are. A bit up near the hut there. dark leaf green through there. Just in some areas there, just a bit of growth going down there. We'll work on that a bit more, a little bit later as well. Just some more, I don't know, some more growth, a shrub or something like that near the house. A couple of bushes. Bit of a path or some worn area where people have been walking. We'll put some of that in soon. Some more shrubs. Okay, so it's looking pretty good so far. Painting this big tree I was telling you about on the left-hand side here. This is a lot of raw umber in here, rather burnt umber in here, and there's some black, a bit of black mixed in as well. As I said, you could almost get away without putting this tree in, but I want it in because, you know, I just want it to be a really loose looking tree with some sap green as the foliage. It's creating some branches coming off that tree into different areas. I'll switch to a smaller brush soon. We go with a smaller brush, just creating some branches coming off that big tree trunk. Coming off the base of the tree there. You can already see that burnt umber where I put that big tree there in on the left hand side is starting to fade, so we'll make that a lot stronger. We'll do that later. And I'm yet to put some sap green in on that tree that we painted on the left hand side as well. I've just been scratching some more twigs in through on the right hand side, as you can see. Still and I'm just painting now some branches, random branches coming up through there. Some more over here. So we'll let that dry a little bit, and we'll concentrate just on the right hand side of that shed, just there. Let's have a look at that and just see what we can do. Okay, this is a mixture of peach, P-E-A-C-H, a mixture of peach and some yellow ochre mixed in there as well. Just going to mop that up a little bit there. Some came out a bit further than I wanted, some of that colour. So just painting along here. I'm leaving a little white edge there where the guttering of the roof is, perhaps, or the edge of the roof. Bit of a white space there. We're also going to, after this colour is down, we're going to paint a little bit darker. We're under the roof, under the eave of the roof, and then we'll eventually put some sort of a glaze over the top of this, so it looks like it's a variation in colour. And we'll use something like a yellow ochre mixed with a little bit of brown to do that. But that'll be just a tiny bit later. So it's taking shape. We'll do the underneath the eave here, just under the roof a little bit, make it a bit darker. I'm using burnt umber here. I'll also end up using a tiny bit of black as well. And we'll even try some burgundy under there as well. So there's your raw umber under there. Tiny bit of black. I want to put a bit of burgundy on there too. So here we go. Smooth that out a bit there. That's looking pretty good. Remember, I need to put that glaze over with a bit of cadmium yellow and a bit of brown. We'll yet to do that. Just a glaze over what we've just painted there, just to give the outside of that hut a bit of variation. Just a bit more burnt umber just in there, just in a couple of spots in there, not much. All right, so with the sap green, I'll be going over this tree with some sap green. Right now, a bit of cadmium yellow. Or lemon yellow, rather. This is lemon yellow. You can see a tiny bit of yellow ochre mixed in with that, but primarily a lemon yellow going in here in spots. And we'll get some sap green, SAP, some sap green, and we'll really do a loose watercolor for the foliage on this tree. It's a really good contrast to that Australian dark leaf green on the right hand side behind the bush hut. To have this green in here. It's a real pretty green, this sap green. It's a beautiful looking green. More sap green around the tree there. Just some bushes around the hut there as well, just behind, to the side and behind a bit. Still fixing up under that roof there just a bit. With some more burnt umber just up in through there. we need to do the doorway. So we'll get some brown, some general brown, and we will start the doorway. And we'll go over that with a bit of burnt umber. Burnt umber. Yep, we'll go over that with burnt umber, just in places. Here we go. Yeah, so that's our entrance in through there. You can almost see inside one of the rooms in there, can't you? So I'm painting a tree now in the foreground, coming in front of this bush hut. Couple of trees, just random trees with no foliage, just in front of that bush hut there. And there's a tree that we've already painted right behind the hut, and we'll put a little bit of foliage on that tree when we get to it. We're just fixing up here in the foreground, just some shrubs, some grasses in through here. And don't forget, we still have to work on that big tree on the left-hand side with the tree trunk. I just want that to be a bit darker. Painting some grasses in here, just some random clumps of grass. Just some little bushes, something like that, just in front of that hut. And we'll bring them up a little bit higher later on. I will just darken up this tree trunk in some areas, some burnt umber going on now. Creating some more branches in through here. So darkening this up with a bit of burnt umber mixed with some black. Just fixing up this little figure here. I end up leaving the this little figure. I end up leaving its the person's shirt white in this. But then after I take the tape off and stop the camera, I decide I would like the figure to stand out a bit more, so I put turquoise down for his shirt. But you won't see that until the final photograph, when that's revealed to you. That's when I decide to do it, between stopping the camera and the final photograph. But you'll see that right at the end of the video, and you would have seen that at the start of the video, what the figure looks like. Just some sort of a little worn path there, nothing much. You can see what I'm doing there, just randomly creating more grasses and some texture in there as well. That's Australian dark leaf green. I'm just quickly just skipping it through here. So on the head of this figure is a mixture of red and peach. I don't want it to be too red. This is the head. Leave a little white cap on him or something like that. So as you can see, I'm leaving his shirt reasonably white. I'll put just some sort of a shadowy colour on it eventually. I'll paint his shorts sort of, I don't know, a blacky colour. Some sort of a black colour for his shorts. And then I'll do the legs, similar colour as the head, although I think I'll go over the legs to make them just a little bit darker. So here we go. That's okay, but I do think I will make the legs a bit darker. Here we go. Just sort of putting a little bit of light definition in his shirt, but as I said before, we will be going over the shirt with turquoise, and that'll make him stand out even more. And you'll see that on the final photograph. So it doesn't look too bad, that little figure, but I do intend to put a brighter colour on there. So that will happen after I take the masking tape off and before I take the final photograph. Just fixing those legs up there. I think that's pretty good. But remember, his shirt will be turquoise at the end of the video. Just fixing up some grasses around the place. I'm putting some foliage on this tree behind the hut. I've just got a fairly, it's not completely dry, it's damp, but it's not soaking wet either. I've dried it off with a tissue, and I'm dabbing the Australian dark leaf green onto the brush, and I'm dabbing it onto the watercolor paper as well, just to give it a little bit of different sort of foliage on this back tree. I think that's okay for that back tree. We'll leave that. Just continuing to work on this little guy just a bit further. Yep, definitely will look better if his shirt is turquoise or something like that. Looking all right. I need to sign it as well eventually. So just putting this glaze of this, almost looks like mustard, doesn't it? But it's a combination of yellow ochre and a little bit of peach. There we go, just wanted that over that. So that gives, you can see the variation there, the glow that's been given now on the right hand side of that hut as you're looking at it. So there's some light coming through that big tree on the left hand side. It's filtering through onto the hut. Putting some foliage up here, some bushes up a bit higher, like I said I was going to do. We're nearly finished. All right, just taking the tape off. Now remember that little guy, we're going to give him a different coloured shirt. You'll see that on the final photograph. Pulling away from the paper. Well, there's a couple of little things I forgot on the front of that hut, the air vents. So we'll put them in now. Just two little strokes down here. There we go. So we'll continue taking the tape off. And that is it. The little guy will have a turquoise shirt in a moment, and you'll see him standing out even further. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe and click that bell icon. We're a reasonably new channel, but we intend to grow this quite a bit. And then once we get enough members, we'll add on Patreon, and we'll do some exclusive work for those Patreon members as well. If I'll just put a little bit of black here on the left-hand side, just a tiny bit of definition. So if you would like to join with the Patreon once we get enough members, that would be marvelous as well. Here he comes with a turquoise shirt. There he is, and I think that looks a lot better. If you are a watercolor company or a supplier, you can send some watercolors to me and I will review them for you as our audience grows in numbers. Thank you once again for watching. Again, I really do appreciate it. Please share this with your friends if you think they would like it as well. Let them know about it as we learn together and do our watercolors together. Again, really appreciate you watching, and we'll have another watercolor up very soon indeed. Bye for now. Thank you for watching.